Hello. Today I'd like to show a game that I played recently on the Internet Chess Club. I was playing with the white pieces. The game was played with 15 minutes per game and 2 seconds increment per move. We have this French defense variation where white places the knight on f3 and allowing black the option of playing queen b6 and winning this pawn on d4. Instead, black goes for h6, a fairly rare line, but the idea is typical for this variation where black goes g5 and threatens to expand with pawn to g4 and attack the knight, force that knight to retreat so that then the d4 pawn can be captured. Therefore, white takes on c5, also freeing up the d4 square for this knight in case g4 ever happens. And this is all fairly typical. The bishop goes away as it was attacked. And here, a typical position, but the one that is slightly different from other positions in this line, and I made a rather silly blunder. Best was to capture on c6 and go for something like this with a reasonable position. Instead I went rook e1, and this allowed this knight to e5 tactical idea that I completely overlooked. Well, it happened, so I have no choice. I have to take on e5. Black takes on b5, so now he's up a pawn. But this pawn structure is definitely quite vulnerable. So I finished development of the pieces. Black also tries to finish his development. And now white puts knights in the center and hopes to generate some wild tactics here. So bishop back to d7. So really here, if black castles, he'll probably be safe, and I'll be down a pawn. I'll have to deal with a strong center. So I try to create complications. Maybe it wasn't the best idea, but my hope was to force this knight to go away. And in this position, I somewhat achieved it, but now this bishop is very strong, and my pieces are quite loose, and black is probably doing okay here. So I try to create threats on the king's side, attacking the bishop. The bishop captures on e5, so now I have threats. I have weakened black's dark squares, but black can probably hold on here. So if he had only played here king to f8, this would really have posed the question to my knight as to what it's doing here and where is it going next, and I don't really have a good answer to that. This would have left black with a pretty good position, punished me for the mistake of dropping the e5 pawn, and kind of leave my pieces hanging here while black has a solid strong center. Instead he went bishop to c6, which is logical as well, and it serves a somewhat obscure purpose though in a way, but defends the I guess the threat at this point was just to capture with the queen on d5 because the pawn is pinned. So that was sort of an idea. Bishop c6 naturally defends d5, but after rook e1, this check, it turns out that white has nasty threats against e6, and the bishop that was defending e6 now is gone. And that is a bit of a problem. At the moment also knight to d6 is being threatened, and the king would have to, well, winning the exchange. So the king goes away to defend against that. The knight still comes to to d6, attacking the rook, and also posing some threats around the black king. The rook moves, and here I have to make it or break it basically. If I give black a bit of time to get back with his knight into the game, to coordinate his pieces slightly, I'll be in trouble. Fortunately, I have this shot of rook takes e6, and this really exposes the black king, his entire position. He naturally captures back, and now it's really hard to choose between capture on e6 immediately or throwing in the queen, but I thought I'd throw in some pieces into the game here. And now there is a threat of queen to f6, queen to e6 possibly, rook to e6, so it's really hard for black to defend against all these threats, and I think already here black is in big trouble, even though he's technically up a rook. He went rook here, defending the 7th rank. Now the rook comes into the game, and the engine here can't find any defense for black, and there isn't any really. And I wasn't sure in the game if I'm playing for a perpetual, but it seemed just this was my best chance, and the attack is at least strong enough for a draw. black's best chance here was to play rook here, giving up the exchange, and after white takes and black takes, white's kind of finishing up the capture of all the weakened black pieces, and there's just, you know, no defense for black here. The king is too weak. Opposite colored bishops are adding to the intensity of the white attack, and these pieces on the queen side are really too far away. Still, that was probably the best chance. In the game, black played queen to d4, trying to bring the queen back, also trying to create some counterplay against my weakened back rank. Fortunately, white has an exchanging combination that gives back a rook temporarily, but after this only sequence from black, I pick up his queen, and that kills off his counterplay and also really leaves him still defenseless against the white attack that's still going on. And after rook here, black resigned after I gave this check, because really his king is still in big trouble. All the pawns are falling off eventually, and there's no counterplay whatsoever. This knight is still out of the game, and white also has a material advantage to begin with. So this was an interesting game. I definitely misplayed it here with rook e1, allowing him to grab the strong center. But in the rapid time control game, it is very easy to play a natural move like bishop to c6, just defending against one threat at a time, and at the same time, you know, allowing decisive threats from white that came after this unexpected rook sacrifice. So definitely both myself and my opponent have something to learn from this game. And I rather liked the attack that white had here after the rook sacrifice, where a couple of slow moves, a couple of quiet moves without any checks, and still the black king is not able to save himself after against the attack of the white pieces. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you.